Thanks so much for joining us. Today I'm going to be tying up a deadly little salmon fly that's very good at the end of the season. So as we're approaching autumn here, and it's called the McCormick's shrimp. So it's an Irish shrimp style with a bit of a modern twist. First of all, we're going to add our thread as we always do. For the tag of this fly, it's going to be gold oval. And this time it's actually quite small. Normally for an Irish shrimp fly, make it quite large, but you'll discover later on why. It's going to be quite similar to the rib. Okay, so secure your oval in. Give it a few turns towards the area of the hook until you're happy enough, and just slip it in the middle hook, pull it tight, and secure it in underneath. That gives you a nice flat top there for what's going to be part one of your tail. Okay, so you can keep that for later now. So for this, it's called cloaking. It's quite modern Irish shrimp fly. It's basically bucktail in the middle, cloaked with golden pheasant or similar. So the first piece of the tail is going to be your bucktail. As you can see, I've already stacked this and basically clumped it all together. I always pre-prepare my bucktail. You'll have seen in other videos now, and I'll stick a wee video in the description of how I go about to do that. I'll just cut off what I need, and you're already saving time. You have a nice straight tail already. In fact, I'm going to taper that a little bit. Okay. And then length of the tail, it's up to yourself, but probably about 1.5 to 2 times the length of the hook. It works out similar to twice the shank, really. Just think about that there. Okay. Lightly, apply it on lightly using the pinch technique. Pinch and hold until you've got it on a nice bed on top. And then just, if you're needing any more thread, just unroll it. Don't be applying pressure because you don't want this to splay. If it splays, you end up having basically what would be similar to a muddler. As you can see, that's lying nice and flat here as well. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak a wee run of thread underneath just to give it a wee small kick without it splaying. Like that there. Perfect. Okay, so as I say, we don't want to apply too much pressure, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some super glue as I run back up to start the second stage of the tail. Okay, and that means I don't need to apply any tension, but it'll give that a real nice secure hold. Okay. And then we're going to tidy up the front here. Tidy up the front here. You can have it tapered if you want. It's up to yourself, but I just run that thread down. Get it leveled out a little bit. Okay. Next part of the tail is going to be a bit of flesh. So it can be pearl or gold crystal flesh. I'm going to get a few strands here of gold crystal flesh, put that in. Again, just nice and light. Just run that up on top. You want it about the length of the tail, so if it isn't already, just give them a few cuts. But that looks okay to me. And again, neaten up as you go along. Okay, so the last part of the tail is going to be what makes it particularly an Irish shrimp fly. So what I have here is, it's not golden pheasant, it's just, I think, a ridgeback pheasant, but it's the rump, and the rump's been bleached and dyed a dark claret, so it gives you a real nice colour. It'd be like a spey hackle nearly. So still got plenty of movement, but the golden pheasant is quite hard to get at the moment. Okay, so what I do is I expose a few fibres, and just because you have a wee bit of wet super glue there still, I just bring that down until it meets the rear. Okay. And then you can train the fibres, so it's easier to train these fibres than regular golden pheasant because the stalk's a wee bit stronger. Okay, and then what we're going to do is double all this back and do a couple of turns. So bear in mind that you already have a tail, so you don't need it too heavy. So I'm going to aim for about 2 turns here. Okay, secure it in and just run the stock on down and neaten things up. Then what I do with my Irish shrimp flies is I take it from the face, blow it from behind, and then you have the nice splay of fibres. And if you want, you can wet them just to pull them in. Make sure you have a good even mix from top to bottom, side to side. Okay, and get it back in the face, and again secure that in so you can go over a few wraps if you want, but because it's not hitting the tag this time, I'm not going to. Okay, so then for the rib of this is going to be your gold oval. So just attach that in underneath. So I'm just bringing the thread back up and attach that in underneath. And then the body. And the body's going to be a claret, or this is wine, but it's real nice colour. It's like a ruby claret floss. Okay. Now I only have one strand here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it underneath and then double it up. I'll give a real secure hold as well at the same time. Okay, and then just run that down to the floss on top and the tag underneath. Okay, I'm just going to wax my thread. I sometimes do this under a floss body. Just a wee bit of wax hopefully catches it and stops it slipping as well. And again, you go about halfway up the hook shank, which will give you about 3 or 2/3 of the body really, because you obviously have a wee bit of length at the end for the head. Then just wind up your body. You can twist these fibres as you go along. Because you have the 2 strands, if you miss one section, you'd hope that the next strand coming behind will catch it. Okay. Then just secure that in with a couple of wraps. And then likewise we'll follow it up with 3 to 4 turns of your gold rib. Now the next part is going to be your mid hackle. Just going to try and make this up a little bit actually. Okay, so the next part is going to be your mid hackle, and in this instance it's going to be a claret. So again, it's a claret cock hackle. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to pinch off the tip, expose a few fibres to create a V, wax my thread, and then tie it in at the V with the shiny side facing you, and then double back again, and that'll give you a very secure hold. And then just start training the fibres downwards as normal. And this hook's a size 10, so normally, depending on the feather now, but normally for like a size 10 on an Irish shrimp fly, I'd probably do 3 turns. So let's see how I get on. There's 1, 2, think that looks good. Okay, so I'll go for the third turn. As you can see, my third turn's a little bit more open, just for a wee bit of extra movement. Okay, and then just neaten it up. Cut off your excess. Really start to see the shape coming in now. Okay. So then the front body, which is the front 2/3, is going to be, again, it's going to be your claret floss. So again, I stick that in underneath and use the weight of the bobbin to secure it. Tie it in. Tie it into the top. Then with that coming on top, the rib goes down below. And just run that up to your hackle. So there'll be loose ends of tinsel and all be covered as we do that. Okay, wax my thread again for the sticking the floss, and then just run it down and try and level out the body if you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and then we'll get our floss and we'll wind it on to the head. Secure it in a couple of turns, and then follow it up with the rib. And you're probably only going to get 2 or 3 turns for that there, which is plenty. And again, a couple of turns to secure it. Okay. Trim off the excess. Okay, and then we have wings, I could call them. You could call them roofed jungle cock, but they're quite big for this fly. So I'm going to put them in, and they should go back basically the whole rear of the body. So a couple of turns just to see how things look. Make sure it's all symmetrical. Okay. Just to make the jungle cock very secure, stop it slipping off, always do a few wraps of thread of super glue. Okay. Okay. Trim off your excess. Just one more small bit of super glue. Okay, and then for the front hackle, we've got cock hackle again, which is a hot orange. It's a bit more colour at the front. So again, I break off my tip and make a wee V. I don't need to use my excess tin because I still have sticky super glue. And I just do a couple of turns on top of that sticky super glue, pull everything back, and do another few wraps. I'll give us very secure hackle as always. And then just train your fibres to point inwards. And then we'll do a few turns. So This is a smaller hackle, I should have said. As always, you go the pheasant is larger. The middle, I usually get it to the rear of the hook, and then the front hackle's a bit smaller. So proportion. Some people do it the opposite way and do the front hackle larger hackle, which is more traditional. This is the way Robert Gillespie says. Well, it's the way Robert Gillespie devised, and it seems to be quite successful for myself and others. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so I've done 2 turns there, and from the last, hang on, I'm going to start that again, folks, just to make sure it's well turned over, well doubled. So 1 wrap, 2 wraps, and then the 3rd wrap I've taken off a wee bit just for a cleaner tie down. Okay, we'll secure that in, a couple of tight wraps, and then put everything back, including the stalk, give an even more secure hold, and then we just tie on top of that. Okay. Cut off your excess stalk. And then you can create your head. Just bulk it up a wee bit. Again, I'm going to put on a wee bit of super glue. It always stops the thread slipping down the eye as well. Always good for creating a nice even shaped head. Okay. Then last thing we do is we get our whip finish tool and do 4 or 5 wraps of the whip finish tool. Okay. And that's your McCormick's shrimp fly, folks. There's another wee fly called the duck and featherly, which is tied in a similar way that I have on the shrimps, a previous video, so have a wee look at that as well. But I hope, hopefully you found that useful, folks. Hopefully we get the weather conditions as well to face these before the end of the season, get some nice high water to face them. And as always, if you like the video, give us a wee thumbs up, please, much appreciated. Drop us a wee comment if you've got any questions or anything like that there, and if you haven't subscribed, can you hit the subscribe button, much appreciated. Okay, all the best and thanks very much, folks.